Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do for you is I'm going to write your name and class code on your paper, but we are going to cut these out, so we have to make sure at the end of class that our class code and our name are on the back of our sock. I'm going to grab my tracer sock and figure out which way I want it to sit, and then hold it very still and trace around the edge with a Sharpie. Now it's okay if I accidentally draw a little bit on my tracer or go outside of my lines, because it's just for tracing, so it's not that big of a deal, but I need to make sure I'm moving my hand around and tracing my sock very carefully. It's okay if I make my lines a little thicker on one side like I did right there, because we are going to cut these out, so we're going to cut them out all the same. And then again, I accidentally drew on the tracer, and that's okay, but we should not be drawing on the tracer on purpose. So now I have my sock traced out. I'm going to go back around and fix some of those messy lines and make them all look like one line instead of having choppy lines. And now I need to decide which shapes I want to put in my sock. So I'm going to pick 2 or 3 shapes and then draw them from there. So I'm going to start by thinking which shapes look good together, and my favorite shape is an organic shape because they're just blobs, so I'm definitely going to use one of those. And I think circles look really nice with organic shapes, so I'm going to do some small circles and spread them out, and then I'm going to do my organic blob shapes all around my sock as my main big shape. And it looks like I could use a little bit more, so I'm going to fill in some of those empty spaces with little triangles. So I picked 3 shapes. You can pick 2 or 5, but you have to pick at least 2 shapes to draw in your sock. Now remember, these are our secondary socks, so we are using secondary colors, and I'm going to color each space that I have in my sock with a secondary color. So starting with my background, I'm going to make that orange. And we are using oil pastels, which are kind of like crayons, but you'll notice they're a lot messier than crayons. And you can use your finger to smudge them. So I left lots of white space, and then I'm going in with my finger and smudging that white space away. Again, it's okay if I go outside of the lines because we're going to cut them out. So if I smudge a little bit past the outside line, that's okay because I'm going to cut it out. Okay, so I've got my background filled with orange, and I'm going to color my blobs purple, and same thing, I can leave a little bit of white space and go back in with my finger and smudge. If you don't want to use your finger to smudge in your oil pastels, you can use one tissue, only one tissue, and just move it around when you change colors. When I change colors, if I'm using my fingers, I need to smudge with a different color with a different finger for each color. So use my pointer finger for purple, and then my middle finger for orange, and then my ring finger for green. But some of those smaller spaces won't need any smudges because they're small enough that I can fill it pretty easily. Now I'm going to go around the outside edge and cut that sock out really nicely, staying on the Sharpie lines. Again, making sure my name ends up on the back once it is cut out, and then it is all finished.